Welcome, Canada, America, India. Also, lawyers paid to watch this show to make sure I don't say anything, or to make sure I say something crazy. We have a great episode for you tonight. Strap in as the Liberals have faced consequences, maybe further action. We lose Bill Morneau. I know, sad, very sad. Chrystia Freeland has been made finance minister, and Justin Trudeau decides to just, shut down Parliament for a month during a major scandal. That seems par for the course for the Liberals' behavior. So we have all that. Those will be our lead stories. Then I want to get into the peace in the Middle East, go over the Israeli-UAE peace plan and how that's really reshaping Middle Eastern politics and how that's going to reshape the West, hopefully the West's view towards Middle Eastern politics, and how the Arab world will finally respond to Palestinian propaganda. Then we have the Democratic National Convention. Sorry, the Socialist National Convention. No, the Democratic National Convention. And Communism Corp. Either way, they've sent out a strong message. We are a party united on nothing, who doesn't like Trump. Also, Jews bad, radical Islam good. All right. Then finally, we will end with France. France has some new abortion laws making abortion legal up until 9 months in any circumstances, and I'm going to make the pro-choice argument as to why that is a bad idea. All right, so the top story in Canada, well, it's not in the media because they pay them $600 million to never cover the news, but it should be the fact that in the middle of a major scandal, Justin Trudeau has prorogued Parliament. He's just shut down Parliament for a month in the middle of a major scandal. So we're not going to get the answers on We Charity. Now, do we have a comment on this from anyone in particular? Let's bring up this tweet just to see what does the government think of Parliament being prorogued. Here we have someone called Houston Trudeau. Houston Trudeau says, marching against prorogation in Montreal, you know it's a good day when even the Communist Party comes out for democracy. Now, obviously, this is Justin Trudeau from 10 years ago when he wasn't in power, and he's marching in Montreal to basically take down prorogation of Parliament. Oh, so what you need to know here is Parliament will be shut down for a month in the middle of the WE scandal. Standard corruption, okay? Then their whole thing is, again, yes, we screamed bloody murder when Stephen Harper did it, but we're different than Stephen Harper, and their excuse is because there will be a no-confidence vote as soon as Parliament gets back in session. However, that always happens after prorogation, so it's not like a thing. It's like, oh yes, we're taking a weekend off, but we come back Mondays. It's like, yeah, that's how weekends work. So again, the media is lying and covering for them, but here's the Trudeau thing, or the Liberal thing. How blatant is it allowed to be before we do something? Like, how blatant? What is the level of blatant corruption we're willing to take as a country before everyone sort of gets behind it? Because you have, we could have brought up 8,000 different examples, and we could just be like, look at this tweet from crazy Liberal person saying, oh my God, I can't believe Conservatives are going crazy. Andrew Scheer once, sold insurance, and therefore everything Justin Trudeau does is great. It's insane. Okay, so in the middle of the WE scandal, where 5,000 documents are about to come out, I mean, you had Pierre Poilievre out there with the holy redacted sheet, just showing a black redacted sheet saying, we need to get to the bottom of this. And his answer is, you know what? What if we just shut down Parliament for a month and make this all go away? And this goes to what I've been harping on for about a year now, and this is why I went absolutely crazy at SNC-Lavalin scandal, because there is no more balance of power in Canada. It's done. It's done. This will be the final test of what is the media. Is there a media left? Because Trudeau controls the Parliament. The PMO went into the judicial system. We've gone over that. The last sort of bastion of freedom is supposed to be the media here. One would think, the media, which is so hyper-focused on how evil Donald Trump is. Remember, Donald Trump, if he even talks about suspending the election because of COVID-19, if he even brings up any sort of possibility of shutting down an investigation, even the most asinine parts of the Russiagate conspiracy, which have been debunked, if he even talks about just getting rid of that, the Canadian media goes into overdrive. absolute overdrive. But if Justin Trudeau, in the middle of a scandal that's, again, not even his biggest scandal, SNC-Lavalin was huge, but this scandal is bigger than any scandal Donald Trump has had, if he just says, yeah, we're just shutting down for a month. Yeah, no one's allowed to talk about this for a month. Will the media cover it? Because I screamed at the Conservatives for their suckiness in handling the SNC-Lavalin scandal, because the Conservatives had to realize right away that they were going to be the only ones keeping the SNC-Lavalin scandal and the We scandal in the media, because the media just wants to ignore this. So here's the final test for the media. We're going to have a month of no politicians, just a month where Pierre Poilievre can't get up in front of a camera and do that. I mean, they can get on Twitter. So you got 1 month media. This is where the CBC, which we all know I love, CTV Global, this is the test. This is the test of will $600 million corrupt you? Obviously it will. Do you remember the McDuffie scandal, 2015? Oh yeah, it was 2015, Mike Duffy. I remember CBC did top 5 politicians of the year in 2015, the election year. It was Harper, Elizabeth May, Justin Trudeau, Tom Mulcair, and then Mike Duffy was number 5. I don't know I can't remember the order of the other 4. But you know what I mean? Like, he was a top 5 politician, top 5 political story, and he ended up being cleared of everything. But that story, the Mike Duffy story, was purely created, hyped, and pushed by the media. Purely kept in the game there. This is what we'll find out. Is the $600 million that the Canadian taxpayers paid to destroy the media, is this the end? Because if they don't cover it, then what does it really say? Like, this is a scandal where it's like a political slush fund. It's the most obvious scandal you could have. Justin Trudeau, well, has friends in the Clyburgers. They paid his mother and his brother hundreds of thousands of dollars to give speeches to kids. Then as an exchange, he would give them financial aid. This same thing for Bill Morneau. We just had a Stephen Gilbert. This is like not even the first time the Liberals have done this. Now, I'm gonna go on my number one thing here with the Trudeaus. I can understand how Margaret Trudeau would get a speaker's fee in Canada. I get that. You can make the argument as to why Margaret Trudeau might have something to say. Wife of a prime minister, very famous, openly struggled with mental illness. Kids today have mental illness. You can make that argument. It's a loose argument. You can make it. Alexander Trudeau, who was also paid 6 figures by the We charity, what are his qualifications to speaking to kids? Now, Sacha Trudeau, Alexander Trudeau, Trudeau's brother and advisor, his former job was he made documentaries for Press TV. Press TV is the English language propaganda network for the Iranian Ayatollah. Yeah, that's right, the Islamic Republic of Iran. He made such documentaries as, 1, Why Jews Are Bad, and made an anti-Israel documentary, which is great for the kids, I guess. And 2, he made a documentary explaining why the Ayatollahs in Iran need nuclear weapons. Is that what you're talking to the kids about? Is that what We Charity does? Is it like, hi kids, come on, we're gonna have the Trudeaus, yeah, come in kids. So, listen, school is important, recess is important, you need exercise, you need school, and the Ayatollahs need nuclear weapons. Yes, they say they want to use them to destroy the planet, but here at We Charity, we believe in kids, we believe in futures, and we believe in nuclear Armageddon. So that's why we have Alexander Trudeau here to give you a talk on why Jews are bad and why the Ayatollah should have some nukes. Have at it. Sounds like a fun time. Now, okay, that's the We scandal. It's going to be not covered. By the way, if you're wondering, no, I actually do not receive any of the $600 million. If you want to give me $600 million, that would be much appreciated. Please file the checks to whoever. There's a link in the Patreon or whatever. Just give me $600 million, and I guarantee you, giving me $600 million will change nothing. Nothing in the show. You can't buy me. All right. Now, who's out? Bill Morneau is out because of this scandal. And it's kind of good that the Liberals finally lost a minister to all this, because Bill Morneau had to go. You can't just give away $900 million and be like, oopsies, we just didn't do any due diligence. Like, that's something the finance minister had to go. There was a $41,000 vacation he was reimbursed for, and then he didn't even pay back the $41,000 he got for vacation until the day before he was going to go to hearing, saying, oh yeah, I just forgot. I just forgot. I just left $41,000 lying around, which happens to the best of us. Let's be honest. How often have you just gone outside and just misplaced $41,000? It happens to the best and brightest in our society. But let's bring up the tweet. This is like the best example of what I've just been talking about with the media and all that. So here we have, imagine if Donald Trump fired Steve Mnuchin to distract from the fact that Trump was caught funneling billions of dollars of taxpayer money to an organization that had paid Ivanka Trump. That's what just happened in Canada. Exactly. And this is what I've been saying with Canadian leftists for 4 years now, is imagine if Donald Trump did this. Think of every Justin Trudeau scandal, like the SNC-Lavalin scandal. The American equivalent of the SNC-Lavalin scandal would be Donald Trump firing a Supreme Court justice, or it would be Donald Trump trying to overrule the Supreme Court hearing ruling with executive authority, firing the chief Supreme Court justice, and then replacing them. Like, that's really the equivalent of what SNC-Lavalin was, and that would be if he had been, let's say, Halliburton, like Dick Cheney had paid him, $200 million to his personal, to the Trump Foundation, and then he fired a Supreme Court justice because they were making a ruling that would make it illegal or that would hurt Halliburton. That is what the SNC-Lavalin scandal really was. And no one said anything. Instead, we're talking about Trump and Russiagate and the Ukraine phone call, and it's all stupid, right? But still. So it's good that Morneau's out. Morneau is out. He was a bad finance minister. He should have been fired when he called farmers, small business owners, and doctors tax cheats. Remember when he called them tax cheats, right? Anyone who owns a small business, a farm, or is a doctor, is cheating their taxes. But Bill Morneau made sure to keep his trust fund intact. That's right. Of all the tax laws that got changed to hammer the wealthy tax cheats, it turns out trust funds like Bill Morneau's and Justin Trudeau's were completely up to code. Totally kosher, 100% kosher. Nothing wrong with the little trust funds there. And again, honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with the trust fund. You make a lot of money, you want to leave it in trust to your family. Fine, that's your money, do what you want with it. My problem is with the moral panic over rich people have more money than poor people. Yes, that's how the world works. Rich people want to give money to their kids. Yeah, that's how the world works. I never get the moral panic over that. But if you are going to give the moral panic that rich people have money and somehow we must freak out over this, and then your thing is, let's attack small business owners, let's attack doctors, let's attack farmers, but let's keep the trust funds. Let's keep the trust funds in lockstep, because that's what we need. More trust funds. Don't ever go after the trust fund. So what's the new development in Canada? Feminism. Because why not? Why not? It's all about feminism all the time. So Chrystia Freeland has replaced Bill Morneau as finance minister. And the number one attack that people are using on Chrystia Freeland right now is she is totally unqualified to be the finance minister. This is backed up by the fact that before she went into politics, she was a journalist, okay? Then she held the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then she was like Deputy Prime Minister, and now she's going to be Finance Minister. She has no financial background. I'm actually not in this camp, and for a few reasons. I'll give the smaller reason, but then I'll give the real reason, and then we'll talk about that. The first reason is you could argue that her role is purely oversight, right? It's ministerial oversight. And her previous experience as foreign minister and internal affairs minister, whatever it was, this has prepared her for finance minister, right? It's mostly oversight. Now, I don't fully buy that, because I do believe the finance minister should have a finance background. It installs confidence in the people. And also, you got to know what you're doing with. Like, Chrystia Freeland could be a really great journalist, maybe a really great journalist, but how many smart people did we know that we went to high school or university with who just sucked at math? Not me. I will say, I have certificates of distinction from both the Fibonacci and Pythagoras 7th and 8th grade math contests, respectively, so I'll math you up. But Chrystia Freeland might suck at math. She was a journalist. Now, you could say that being a competent journalist can prepare you for international foreign affairs minister, right? You just need to know people, you need to know things about the world, It's also a bit of a social thing, foreign minister, they have to be able to fly over to South Korea, have a drinks with their internal minister, talk about some policy, then, fly over to Zambia the next day and learn a bit about their culture and get along there. Like, that's kind of what the foreign affairs minister is. And you could say, okay, Chrystia Freeland might have been competent and qualified enough for that. I disagreed with her NAFTA. I think they screwed up NAFTA, but I can put that more on Justin Trudeau and say, yeah, Chrystia Freeland is pretty competent. Now, the real reason, I'm going to get back to Chrystia Freeland and what the Liberals are doing, because the Liberals are doing something smart. It might backfire, but they're doing something that the Conservatives really failed to do. The real reason why I don't care about Chrystia Freeland becoming finance minister, and I don't think we should be talking about, oh, she's unqualified to be finance minister. You're focusing on the wrong thing here. The problem with the Liberal finance minister is not who occupies the position, it's the attitude of the Liberal Party towards it. And I explain it by this, because Chrystia Freeland got up and she made a speech about how all new financial development will be green and it will be equitable, right? Not equal, equity, right? There's always the equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome, right? There's equality, which is what we should all strive for, right? That's the basis of the feminist movement. Men and women should be equal, have equal opportunities. But then there's equity, right? And the equity theory is everyone should not have equal opportunity, but it should be equitable across the board. So the fact that someone like Bill Morneau has more money than you is inequitable, right? Or the fact that Bill Gates has more money than one of his employees. This is inequity. There's inequities. Everything must be equitable. Everyone must make $84,000 a year. Exactly. Anyone who makes more than that is evil. Anyone who makes less than that must be helped up. This is the philosophy of equity. Now, you might recognize that as like communism, socialism, and a total failure of an economic system for the last 100 years. But that's the problem with the Liberal Party. And I put this on Twitter. Like, it doesn't, if you're going to run the economy off, far left ideology and not off of numbers and markets, then it doesn't matter who the finance minister is. You can put a toddler with no arms as the finance minister. Find me a toddler with no arms, and I'll make him the Liberal finance minister, and it won't be much different than Chrystia Freeland. Because if the budget, you're just going to look at the budget and be like, okay, all right, 2021, our budget will be socialism, abortions, diversity, divorce, socialist, abortions inside a socialist diversity factory, then diversify our abortions. If that's going to be the economy plan, your economic outlook, well, then I can do that. Chrystia Freeland can do that. You can find a toddler with no arms to do that. Just teach it to say diversity is our strength. And it can be the finance minister in Canada. Why not? Why not? Okay, so that's the state of Canada right now. We are run by idiots, but I'm going to go and let's transition on to a region of the world that is slowly becoming more stable, coherent, and more peaceful than Canada. We're getting there. So the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East, everyone wants it, everyone talks about it, but no one really knows what they are talking about. And I have said for a while that Donald Trump has been doing the most possible to work towards peace in the Middle East, and a lot of this is because Westerners don't understand foreign politics in a lot of ways. And the key flaw of many Westerners, and if you don't believe me, find an immigrant friend, preferably from the Middle East, who will tell you this. Westerners look at Middle Eastern politics through Western eyes. They don't look at it through Middle Eastern eyes. They just don't understand that in the Middle East, things are methods of strength and weakness. So during the week, I had made I had said that the number one thing we should learn by the United Arab Emirates Israel peace deal is it is better for the Israelis and the West, generally when dealing with the Middle East, to negotiate from a position of strength, right? When you give back and concessions and not always apologize, Middle Eastern countries won't respect that. And this is what Israel had to learn in 1967. After the 1967 war, they took over the West Bank, they took over Gaza, they took over the Sinai, they took over the Golan Heights, and they offered everything back immediately in exchange for peace. And the Arab states met in Khartoum in Sudan and offered the three no's: no peace, no negotiation, no recognition. right? So the whole no recognition thing. And the reason that is because when you win an entire war and you show strength, but then you come out and say, hey, our position is we'll just offer you peace. That's not how Arab nations work. You don't negotiate like you would with, let's say, Denmark. Because Denmark, if Canada and Denmark got into a war that Denmark started, and then Canada took over half of Denmark before the war was over, and then offered Denmark everything back, all of the Denmark they took back in exchange for peace, Denmark would do it in a heartbeat. That's a great deal. Usually, like in war treaties, like Denmark would be forced to pay reparations. There'd be different arguments over what could be paid. No, that's what it was, just peace. And the Arabs came out and said no, because they did not negotiate from a position of strength. But there's an even deeper thing coming, because now that the Israelis and the UAE have had relations, Bahrain is coming, Oman is coming, there's talks of Morocco coming down to peace, there's even talks of Lebanon ending their war with Israel and talking about peace, because this is the new way of the Middle East. And what people are about to learn, because we're going to get a bit deep and I'm going to get a bit controversial here, is we have to get into Palestinian politics. Okay? And you have to learn the Palestinian narrative. Now, people are saying the Palestinians have no narrative. No, the Palestinians have culture and they have a narrative now. Palestinian culture is about genocidal anti-Semitism and lies. It's what it is. It's the fundamental, it's the two biggest things. So let's show some videos of just what happened after the UAE peace deal, and how did the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian government react, and how did the Palestinian propagandists react. And I want to show you this stuff and then talk about how it works on Jews and how it will not work on other Arabs. So here is a video from Quds News Network, and Quds News Network is reported this as Israeli forces kill Palestinian worshippers near Hadith Gate of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Let's show the video of Israeli forces killing a Palestinian worshiper right now. All right, so here you have him. He's dead. He's been murdered by the Jews, sorry, Zionists. Look, he's very dead, just murdered. He just wanted to go and pray. Oh my God, let's destroy Israel right now. Oh my God, the Zionist occupation is terrible, 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 terrible. Now, what is the part of the video that they did not show you? Let's show you the 20 seconds that led up to this. So here we have a Palestinian worshiper. There he is, same guy, red shirt, mask. Right, here he is. He takes out his worshiping knife, and oh, there, worship knife. Stab, stab, stab. Stab, stab, stab. Oh, go for more stab, and then no more stabbing. Okay. So there we go. There we have the worshiping knife, the knife of worship. All right. So there you go, Palestinian propaganda. A man commits a terrorist attack. They lie about it, and then life goes on. But it gets even deeper than that, because that man is now wealthy in the West Bank. And you're saying, what do you mean? He's dead. No. You have to know, and you have to know this because your taxpayer dollars pay for this. Especially if you're a Canadian right now. Trump has shut it down for the Americans. You still pay some international fees. More Canadian taxpayer dollars goes to this now. But there's a program outlined by the moderate Mahmoud Abbas, who is in the 16th year of his 4-year term, and it's a pay-for-slay program. This is why I say, listen, I'm not saying all Palestinians are terrorists and liars. That is not what I'm saying about the people. I am saying, though, that lies and terrorism are a fundamental part of Palestinian culture. Because in the pay-for-slay program, if you take a knife and you attack a bunch of Israelis in Jerusalem like that, your family gets a salary to the end of times, and you make more. Other than being a Palestinian politician, because you get all that money, the number 2 best job to have in the West Bank is terrorist. Better than doctor. Great pension. You just try and murder some Jews. If you actually succeed in murdering Jews, even better, you get paid more money. Depending on what type of Jews you try to murder, do you die in the act? Your family gets money for life. For life. Okay. Now I bring that up to just show you how ineffective the Zionist lobby can be. Now I know some of you might be Islamists, you might be, quasi-libertarians, you might even be, fringe alt-righters, or maybe you find the Zionist lobby annoying. Good on you. I will say, though, no one hates the Zionist lobby more than I do. Not even Louis Farrakhan. Like, Louis Farrakhan and Liz Sessor, they love the Zionist lobby, because they're like, oh, the Zionists are coming after me, because I'm something to yell about. The Zionist lobby is the most ineffective feckless, cowardly organization you've ever seen. If you are manipulated, or if your country is even any way remotely influenced by a Zionist lobby, your country sucks. Your country sucks, and it deserved it. Because there is no country that is actually effectively manipulated by the incompetence of the Zionist lobby. It's impossible. I mean, yes, sometimes if you got up and say, oh, we should kill all the Jews, sometimes the Jewish lobby will be like, get him! And, sometimes they can pick on some small guy and get like a fringe nobody canceled, whoop-de-doo, but it does nothing in the long term, and it just makes them look like idiots. I'll let you in a little secret. This is how the Zionist lobby really works in Canada. And I'll give you an example of CIJA, our biggest Zionist lobby corps. They are the most neutral. They talk to all parties. They raise tons of money and do absolutely nothing. CIJA, God love them. If you're a terrorist, listen up. I'm going to give you some terrorism tips. Right? If you wanted to take out the Zionist lobby, and you were to do this, if you were to go into CIJA headquarters, here's what would happen. If you go into CIJA headquarters with your terrorism vest and you're just gun, pew, 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 stab, 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 oh, there's a baby, right? You're just murdering left, right, being a terrorist, making your way through the building, just murder all the way up, down, and you're just yelling, I'm a terrorist and my motivations are radical Islam, and it's not even so much about Israel or whatever. I would be killing Jews just because I want to kill Jews and blah, 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 blah. Like Israel it barely even matters to me. I kill Jews, I hate them, terrorism. You get to the head office, right? You get to the CEO. Shimon Fogel's there. You could shoot the head of CIJA after just going on a rampage. Then as he's bleeding out, if you're a terrorist, you could say, you know what? I apologize, and this has been taken out of context. I didn't want to murder all the Jews. I meant to murder Zionists. I'm sorry if my words or actions may have offended some people, but there's some very legitimate something Palestinian Zionists, blah, blah, blah. If you were to do that, give a BS apology, non-apology. After you just murdered everyone in CIJA, the last thing Shimon Fogel would do, CEO of CIJA, is he would dip into his own blood and write out on the floor an email to CIJA's followers, one, declaring a great victory over anti-Semitism as he got this terrorist to apologize to him, and then the second half of it would be he would just outline asking you to donate to CIJA so they can continue the fight against anti-Semitism that they're doing so well, and then just kick the bucket. That's what would happen. This is the Zionist lobby. So if you're worried about the Zionist lobby, you're a crazy person. You're an absolute crazy person, because the Zionist lobby is the least effective thing to ever have been invented, right? I wish it was. I wish the Zionist conspiracy controlled the world, but it's idiots. It's a bunch of cowardly idiots. Now, that's how Jews react to things. Those are Jews. This is Arabs. So let's show up the Palestinian plan. I got this. So this is the before and after of the Palestinians of the peace deal. So as you see, there is Mahmoud Abbas before, and there he is after. This is the Palestinians on every issue. Angry before, angry after. Angry, angry, that's always. Now, the United Arab Emirates, the Saudis, Oman, Bahrain, Morocco, they are not like the Zionist lobby. They are not a bunch of idiot, useless cowards. They actually have a bit of a backbone. Now, you might say, oh, they're crazy or this, but they can't be as crazy as the Zionist lobby. So when the UAE made peace with Israel, and what they did is, as a condition, the UAE had said, hey, we want to slow down, stop annexation or applying sovereignty to Judea and Samaria, however you want to phrase it. And in response, the Palestinians lied and advocated for terrorism against the UAE. Now, you can advocate for terrorism against Jews all you want. No one will ever back the Jews. All you have to do is say, I want to murder Jews, kill them all. Sorry, I mean Zionists. And everyone's like, well, that's just social justice. You do that to the Arabs, they're not going to listen to you for longer, because the UAE, over decades, has probably spent the fourth most of any country financing Palestinian interests. They've given the Palestinians billions of dollars that they've wasted. Billions, right? And then they make peace with Israel. They put as a part of their conditions that all projects in the West Bank have to stop. The Israelis agree. And what do the Palestinians do? They start burning the UAE flag. They start swearing at the Emiratis. But here's the problem is, Palestinian propaganda has been pretty effective. It sucks. It really sucks. But it just doesn't suck as bad as the Zionist propaganda. It's not going to work on the Emiratis, because one of the things they did is they released a fatwa, a religious ruling, banning everyone from the UAE going to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, think about this one for a second. The number one thing that the Palestinians use as an excuse for all their suicide bombing and terrorism is that the Israelis, the Jews, the Zionists, will conquer the Al-Aqsa Mosque and desecrate it and destroy it. It's a propaganda point here in Toronto as well. However, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is in Jerusalem. It's on the site of the holiest, it's on the Temple Mount, right? The holiest site in all of Jewish religion. How do the Palestinians have control over the Al-Aqsa Mosque? It's actually the Islamic Wafd of Jordan, but Jordan is Palestine, so technically, yeah. How is it that the Muslims have control of the most holy site in Jewish history? How is that? How does that make sense? Right? And once Emiratis and Westerners start asking these questions, because again, you can say whatever you want about Jews or Zionists, no one cares. We're going to go into the Democratic National Convention. They invite anti-Semites all over the place. So many anti-Semites, right? You can have Ilhan Omar and David Duke do a duet at the DNC. No one would bat an eye. 65% of Jews would still vote for you. Part of my American family. You could say, all right, the Democratic Convention, we're going to have we're going to call it Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, we're going to decapitate a Jew. Zionist. And just every Tuesday, just the Zionist of the week, still get the Jewish vote in the States. That's how deeply the heads have been buried in the sands. This is not the same way with the Arab world. So when you start to say, hey, wait a minute, why don't the Israelis control the holiest site in Judaism in Israel? And the answer is, after that 67 war, as a peace offering, the Israelis, Moshe Dan, gave control of the Temple Mount, the holiest site in our religion, to the Islamic Wafd of Jordan. They pretended that they do not have control of it, and every day they scream that the Israelis are trying to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque, even though they have control of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Temple Mount. In Israel, the world's only Jewish state, the holiest site in Judaism, the Temple Mount, it's illegal for Jews to pray there. It's illegal for Jews to pray in Israel on the Temple Mount, right? And no one really talks about this, but good luck trying to do that to the Emiratis, because when the Prince of the United Arab Emirates, or there's a bunch of different princes, when he flies over there, and then all the Palestinians just get angry and start throwing rocks at him, do you think the Emiratis, do you think the Arab world is going to listen to that type of disrespect? Like, if you do that to the Arabs, and you burn their flags and you disrespect their leaders, they have an honor culture. They're just going to stop funding you. So I look forward to the day to the Palestinians make absolute fools of themselves in front of the rest of the Arab world, because the UAE's done. Saudi Arabia is allowing Israel to fly over its airspace, start the clock to Israel-Saudi Arabia in peace. Again, Bahrain, Oman, all the Arab states on the Persian Gulf, they know who they need an alliance with. Morocco's talking, Lebanon, it's over. Like, it's coming to an end. The end of the Israeli-Arab conflict is coming to an end, and that's in large part due to Trump. Because again, the way Trump works is much, much better for Middle Eastern politics than Barack Obama or Justin Trudeau. Because Barack Obama, his number one failure was he could not look at the East without Western eyes. And the irony is everyone accuses Barack Obama of being some sort of Muslim Indonesian spy. Barack Obama's key flaw was he had no way of understanding other cultures, not that he was un-American in the way he approached things. He was actually too Western in his approach and couldn't understand anything. So I think that's what you need to sort of know about the Middle East is we're getting to the point where a lot of this is sort of coming down to, hey, like, you just can't lie about this anymore. And it's really good because with the Israelis not being alone, show how insane the terrorist culture is in the Palestinian territories. Because the Palestinian territories and what they teach their kids is slowly becoming university-level Middle East studies here in the West, and you see it happening. So what is the result of this? The result of all this type of propaganda is called the Democratic National Convention. So the DNC convention had a whole host of crazies kicking off, Let's show this article. I want to read from this. Here we have, Democratic National Convention hosts imam from Islamic extremist institution. So Norman Hussein, imam of ISM Brookfield in Wisconsin, was one of the religious leaders who took part in the interfaith welcome services. Hussein is a scholar at the Texas-based Qualum Institute, which officials have advocated use, at the Qualum Institute, they have advocated this institution, not this imam, the use of female sex slaves. I mean, who doesn't like a good sex slave? The killing of adulterers. Why not? Sounds like a very nice thing to do. And incite hatred against Jews and other non-Muslims, according to the Middle East Forum. One of the Qualum Institute's courses, the Prophetic Code, warns Muslims to strive for cleanliness and purity so that they do not resemble the Jews. Yes, it would be everyone would hate to resemble the Jews and their uncleanliness. Sounds like a Toronto mosque, but it's actually in Texas. Democratic National Convention did not respond to requests for comment about Hussein's affiliation. He has a 2012 anti-Israel cartoon he put out, because of course. And then here's a quote, Middle East analysis, Turkish is extremely troubling. This reflects the concerns of growing trend with Democratic Party to equate Islamists with Muslims who generally deplatform, silence, and intimidate or targeted by pro-Muslim Brotherhood organizations and present these fringe elements as mainstream in Islam, perpetuating ugly stereotypes about Muslim communities and promoting and fostering radicals, which becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. Okay, that's my jam. That's what I've been saying for forever. Not all Muslims are Muslim Brotherhood. Not all Muslims are crazy people who want to take sex slaves and hate Jews. That is not indicative of the wider Muslim movement. However, the Muslim Brotherhood is an organization that, by their own words, hates Jews, hates polytheists, hates Christians, does not want to get along, wants to change and destroy Western civilization from within. They want to take over. They are not egalitarian. They want apostasy laws enforced. That's death to apostates. They want, religious sexual laws enforced, Islamic ones. Specifically, you can have 4 wives, and sex slaves don't count as wives. Right? That is a Muslim Brotherhood teaching. That is radical fundamentalist Islam. That's a Muslim Brotherhood. That is not your average everyday Muslim. Right? If you were to outline what the Muslim Brotherhood says, if you were to take their own sort of charters and what they're saying, again, the 1991 charter, let's say for their plans in North America openly, our goal is to infiltrate Western civilization and destroy its miserable house from within. If you were to ask the majority of Muslims in Canada, do you want to infiltrate the Canadian political system and destroy it from within? And you gave them some sodium pentothal truth serum so they can answer truthfully, right? Because if you ask them straight up, they'll probably say no. The vast majority of Muslims would not want to infiltrate Canada and destroy it from within. The Muslim Brotherhood does, but the vast majority of Muslims do not, right? But, here is the problem. Who gets put as the Muslim scholar, the head of Islam? Who gets to be the Muslim representative at the Democratic National Convention? It's a guy from an institute that has interesting views about Jews and sex slaves, which does not generally jive with the rest of the Muslim population, and I've been making the case forever. If you keep propping these guys up as representatives of the Muslim community, and then people look and say, oh, who's this guy? What does he represent? Sex slaves, Jews bad, Christians bad, Hindus bad. I guess that's what Muslims think, and this is why we gotta ban Islam. Right? That's how you get to ban Islam. You get to ban Islam when you set the message that every Muslim is crazy. And the best way to do that is to lovingly and glowingly say, look at my lovely, wonderful Muslim friends, and look at him, he's so massive and beautiful, and he's not an everyday Muslim who just wants peace. He's up there like sex slaves. Kids, let me tell you about how many sex slaves you're allowed to have. That's how you set a narrative that every Muslim is crazy. And you do that by inviting radicals basically inviting radicals to your events and legitimizing them. And it works because the Muslim Brotherhood has way more money. They present themselves as, oh, we're the representatives of the community, but it's never is. And honestly, the DNC, other than just being an absolute cluster F right now, because John Kasich is talking there, who got to invite it to speak at the the DNC? Linda Sarsour. Ah, yes, Linda Sarsour, friend of the Jews. Now, Linda Sarsour has maintained that she's not anti-Semitic. She also has said that if you think that her or Louis Farrakhan are anti-Semitic, that is only because you've been duped by the Zionist media. Yes, that's right. Jews, if you're concerned about the man who preaches to millions of people saying things like Jews are satanic, Jews are termites, the satanic Jews, right? What else has Louis Farrakhan done? Oh yeah, Jews aren't the real Jews, right? If you are concerned that a man with millions of followers is calling Jews satanic and comparing them to insects, well, the only reason you're concerned about that is because of the Zionist media, circa Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour also pushed the David Duke narrative that Israel was created for the purpose of ethnic cleansing. Right? There's literally no difference between what Linda Sarsour thinks about Israel and the Jews and David Duke. None. Except Linda Sarsour will pretend that she's sad if an anti-Semitic terrorist attack hurts or fits the narrative. So in Pittsburgh, right, when a man goes into a synagogue, a white man goes into a synagogue and murders a bunch of Jews, Linda Sarsour is very sad. Very sad. She's such a sad lady, and she's going to raise money to help the Jews. However, if two black Hebrew Israelites go into a kosher supermarket and start murdering Jews, well, then Linda Sarsour and Tamika Mallory and friends, all of a sudden they have nothing to say. And this is a woman whose constant lies, whose constant attacks on Jewish people have been ignored, and she's now invited to the Democratic National Convention. So it's not even like she's a fringe person. Oh, she's just fringe, right? Bernie Sanders, same thing. Bernie Sanders put his arms around Linda Sarsour, brought her up, legitimized her. Now the wider Democratic National Convention is like, yeah, we'll bring in Linda Sarsour. Let's bring her in. Oh my God, I have to listen to my American cousins. I can't imagine how any Jew could possibly vote for Trump. I can't imagine. How could a Jewish person vote for Trump? Maybe a basic sense of self-preservation? Think of that angle yet? Huh? Huh? Eh? Eh? Yeah. Now, there is some interesting news coming out of the United States that I find quite... I don't know the word for it, but Laura Loomer has won a seat for Congress. Now, Laura Loomer has been banned off Twitter. She's taken some stances. Now, as I'm going to say, if any Democrat is out there, a left-wing person, is going to start to have some moral outrage over Laura Loomer and what she might have said about certain Muslims or Islamic institutions. Now, again, I have not looked over everything she said, but honestly, the party of Ilhan Omar cannot be talking about religious discrimination from candidates. So Laura Loomer has won her primary and will likely end up in Congress. And again, she's been banned off Twitter. Now, again, I don't know her entire career. She has done some hilarious stunts, like when she climbed over Nancy Pelosi's fence and walked to her house to protest the border wall. You can't do that, but it was hilarious. So if there's going to be someone else in Congress who's willing to speak up on tough issues, I'm happy for that. But is this going to be like the Squad 2.0, right? Is this the new world? Is it where we're going to have sort of media personalities or sort of, does this start the clock to sort of more, we'll say, abrasive media personalities, right? Being able to run for office, and will this sort of drive the parties further culturally right and left? I don't know the answer to that question. Will Laura Loomer be an excellent antidote to Ilhan Omar? Maybe. You know, would it be great to just have someone in Congress who's willing to speak up on, you know, radical Islam? I mean, there's a lot of great things she could do. There's a lot of horrible things she could do. There's ways that this goes horribly wrong and even further polarizes a heavily polarized society. There's the ways this goes incredibly right. And she ends up being a voice against extremism. We just do not know yet. We don't know. We do not know. Okay. All right, moving on to, I thought these episodes would take a lot longer than they would. So moving on to a story, and I'll make up a final story as we're talking about this because I'm that good at TV. All right, abortions. Justin Trudeau wants you to get one. Are you pregnant? Probably not. You should still have an abortion. When in doubt, get an abortion. That's currently Canada's format. Now, another country has joined Canada in the no restrictions on abortions up to 9 months all day, any day. That'd be France. And again, most of my followers are probably more pro-life. I have a mix here. I know some of my followers are very stringently pro-life, and that's fine. You know, no abortions, whatever. We have to understand that's not where the majority of Canada is, and that's not the majority of France. Canada and France probably, on aggregate, right, if we're just being realistic with ourselves, are pro-choice countries. However, most pro-choice people don't actually agree with Canadian and now French abortion laws as they're constituted right now. So I'm going to make I'm probably going to make a pro-pro-choice argument to a pro-life crowd on why you shouldn't have unlimited abortions. Does that make sense? It better. So it comes from this. We've oversimplified the abortion debate way too much, right? People think, if you're pro-choice, that means no restrictions on abortions, whatever, and if you're pro-life, that means no abortions under any circumstances. Now, definitely, people fall into those camps, but the vast majority of the Canadian population, the French population, are not in those camps. If we could summarize the Canadian view on abortion, on aggregate, the Canadian view seems to be, hey, you know, abortion is complicated, and I believe a woman has the right to choose. So, you know, for the first trimester, if a woman needs to abort a fetus because of rape or incest, or she's not able to care for the child, or this circumstance or other circumstance, that is her right to do so. We believe in abortions in the first trimester. That's generally what most pro-choice people in Canada believe. Most pro-choice people in Canada are pretty much, okay, women have the right to choose, and for the first trimester, I kind of believe what they have to do. Now, once you get to the second trimester, this is when you start to get into the more 50-50 type stuff in Canada. You don't really have as widespread support at terminating a 5-month pregnancy for no reason. It's like, oh, I want to go to Vegas this weekend and get drunk and see Miley Cyrus or Taylor Swift. Not a lot of Canadians back that up. Now, you know, you could get me on, hey, I'm 4.5 months pregnant and my baby is going to be born with no heart and like half a brain, and it's just going to be born and struggle and die for a bit, and it's a threat to the mother. Like, okay, you can get me down on that. But then we get to the third trimester abortion, right? This is when you're aborting babies that could survive outside the womb. And yes, it's when the fetus is 7 months old and you abort the fetus, even me as a, I guess we'll say, in-between pro-choice-ish guy, that's baby murder. You're just murdering a baby. Like, honestly. You know, if a fetus has been gestating for over 6 months and you want to kill it, like, let's call it what it is. That's murdering a baby. Like, it could survive. You know, it can live. Like, oh, but the woman, how is she supposed to take care of it? You force her to take care of it? Like, put it up for adoption. Again, no one's forcing you to do anything. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, you might have to be in a delivery room for a day or whatever, but you get free healthcare in Canada, so it's not like it's really gonna hurt you that much. Right? This is sort of where you start to lose people, right? And then you get to, so when you make a rule that, okay, you must be, you can have abortions 9 months, no restrictions whatsoever, ever on abortion, up to 9 months. Okay, then you start to lose people. So I'm gonna make a pro-choice argument here. And it has a lot to do with Canada, and I can see France following suit. But what Canada has done is Canada and Justin Trudeau have put conditions onto government funding on your views on abortion. So in order to get funding for the Canadian Summer Jobs Program, you have to sign something that says that you are in line with the Canadian values on a woman's right to choose an abortion. Okay, now what does that mean? Technically, if you really break that down, what you have to be in order to get summer jobs funding is you have to be in favor of abortions for any reason up to 9 months. And that's not what the majority of Canadians believe. Okay, the majority of Canadians, if you say, hey, can you abort a fetus at 8.5 months if you want to go to Vegas to hang out with your friends? They'd say, no, I don't believe in that. The vast majority of Canadians would say that. However, in order to get summer jobs funding, every Canadian has to then sign a piece of paper that says you believe that. Right? You believe abortion up to 9 months. So this is bad for 2 reasons. One, it forces people to either lie or lie to themselves about their positions. So if you're just an average sort of tepid pro-choice guy, okay? You don't have a problem in the first trimester. You think babies can maybe be aborted in the second trimester if there's really good reason, or if it's a threat to the life of the mother. Like there are circumstances that can make you understand why it's okay, and then you just don't want to get into it, and you think, okay, the reason why it should be legal is because sometimes there's very discrete circumstances, and it's very hard to parse that out. That's the general Canadian view on abortion. You then say, hey, you must tell the government that you believe abortion up to 9 months for any reason is your point of view in order to get money. Well, that will morally degrade the country. And this isn't like a evangelical Christian rant. Abortion's going to morally degrade us. No, it's lying, right? Being willing to either force yourself to lie or being publicly compelled to lie will morally degrade the country, because you have organizations like the ISNA, Islamic Society North America, with 3 terrorism funding violations. 3. In 2018, they were under charitable suspension for their 3rd terrorism funding violation for funding Hezbollah Mujahideen in Kashmir. It goes against my long-held don't kill all the Hindus beliefs. They were under charitable suspension for an entire year. Well under charitable suspension, they applied for summer jobs funding. Well, still under the same suspension, they received summer jobs funding. Now, the ISNA and a lot of the imams and people associated with it, if you were to listen to their views on abortion, they do not believe that you should be able to have abortions up to 9 months. That is not their views. They're pro-life, pretty pro-life. I mean, they're Islamic fundamentalists. They don't believe in abortion up to 9 months. They don't. But because they're sort of Muslim Brotherhood, Jamaat-e-Islami, they're pretty okay with lying. They're pretty okay with lying to the Canadian public. Yeah, sure, abortions, whatever. We love abortions. Yeah, we love abortions and murdering all the Hindus. Great. Aborting Hindu babies, even better, right? And they get $25,000, right? The problem is you have Christian organizations which, one, don't believe in abortion. They're pro-life, right? Bible camps. You know, you're not going to get a Bible camp to talk about why abortions are great, but good on them that they won't lie. Generally, the Christian Bible camps that were denied funding under Justin Trudeau, they will not lie. They'll stand by their values and say, listen, we don't believe in abortion. Now, I don't, like this is again why it's even worse that you're asking the questions, but those are 2 extremes. You have an extremist group with terrorism funding violations that's willing to lie reflexively just to get money, to get into the system, because, again, they have ulterior motives. They're playing a 500-year game. They're after the country. Then you have these sort of the other religious organizations, the Christians, the Jewish, the non-extremist Muslim organizations, which will say, hey, no, we just don't believe in this. We can't lie and say these are our beliefs. And again, this is another way that the extremist Muslim organizations get into the Canadian government over the non-extremist Muslim organizations, because the moderate Muslims, the real Muslims, like the real believing moderate Muslims, won't lie and say that they want to just abort babies all day. They'll say, no, we're morally against that. We you know, blah, 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 right? Then they don't get government funding, right? So it gets this weird thing where the government says, ooh, the progressive Muslim organizations, the pro-abortion ones, the more progressive ones, are the ones like the ISNA. And it's like, guys, 3 terrorism funding violations and death to the Jews imams every day, right? That's not the, right? So you have this mix-up. Now look at the people in between. Let's take the Christians, let's take the Muslims and the Jews and all of it out. If you were to get someone like me, with my political views, but like less like me, right? And I have a student summer jobs program. I don't believe in abortion up to 9 months. I think a woman can get an abortion in the first trimester. I have that average Canadian view. I have that average Canadian first trimester, fine. Second trimester, meh. Last trimester, no. That's like the general Western approach. That's my beliefs. However, in order to get summer jobs funding, I just have to lie to the government about my beliefs. I just have to say, yeah, anytime up to 9 months, right? And that's the slow moral degradation that I'm talking about. Just the willingness to just publicly give in to small lies, to just say, yeah, sure, that's my belief. I'm just doing it for the money. And slowly and slowly and slowly, you make those compromises, right? It's not going to stop at abortion. You really think Justin Trudeau is going to stop and say, oh, the only thing you have to believe in order to get money from me is that abortion is good? This is the guy who bought the media for $600 million, $595 million. And his actual excuse was to preserve the independence of the media. Do you really think this man and the party that surrounds him will stop at this is what you need to believe about abortion? When is it, this is what you need to believe about diversity in order to be Canadian and receive funding? Right? We all have complicated views on immigration and diversity. That's what makes the country great. We can disagree on complicated issues. But if you have to take the radical far-left Justin Trudeau approach that diversity is our strength in order to get federal funding, well, then that's another lie that a lot of people have to get into. And I've talked about it. The diversity is our strength is an inverse of the problem. Because one, diversity is our strength is wrong, and that's a problem, because it's a wrong thing to say, and it's allowing people intuit that. But two, it brings up the counter-argument, which is equally as wrong, diversity is our weakness. Both of those are wrong, strength and weakness. Right? The counter-argument that really needs to be made to the Trudeau government is diversity is irrelevant. Doesn't matter where I'm from or where you're from or what color your skins are, right? What matters is sort of content of character, right? So I always say, diversity isn't our strength, right? Decency is our strength. Decency, a decent society can be diverse, right? If a diverse society is not decent, everyone will end up killing each other. Like, what's the most historically accurate response to diversity? Human history, everyone kills each other. Now, what's the most historic reaction to almost anything in human history? Well, everyone just starts killing each other, right? And it doesn't matter how diverse you are, or how undiverse you are, if your society is not decent, everyone's just gonna end up killing each other, right? That's the problem, right? And with the 9 months to abortion thing, again, no one really believes that. Like, only the most hardcore radical feminists and Justin Trudeau actually believe that that is how we should be running the country. But yet, that's what's happening now, it's happening here, it's happening in France, and we just can't have some common sense abortion laws, and it's gonna end up killing us long term. So, the amount of moral panic over Andrew Scheer saying, yes, I'm Catholic and I don't love abortions. He said, I'm not going to do anything about abortion. I'm just not a fan. Just not a fan of killing babies. Not my thing. It's not how I spend my Saturday afternoons. Crucified in the media. Absolutely went ballistic. We just couldn't have the conversation. So, unless we get some common sense laws, unless we just say, hey, no third trimester abortions for no reason, right? If it's a threat to the mother, okay, baby, medically necessary. But until we have that, things are just going to get a bit crazier. And it's not going anywhere well. And it's not, feminism isn't about killing an 8-month-old baby. That's not really what it's about. And if we don't get it, it's just going to go well. Anyway, all right. So that brings us to the end of today's show. I managed to ramble for an entire hour. That was more impressive than I thought it was. Thank you so much, everyone, to be here. We do this, I'm going to say every Wednesday nights, but Wednesday night might change to Tuesday night, might change to Monday. Look out for more content coming down the road. I've been me, you've been you, and I'll see you all next week. Peace out.